Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 14 of What If Naruto Was a League Summoner. If you guys enjoyed this what if, and want to see part 15 of it, comment down below and let me know. I have created a playlist for this what if, where you can find all the previous parts, link is in the description. And go ahead, and check out other what ifs in the channel. Before we start, please do support for more awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Your office. Naruto repeated, looking at the girl whose voice was just as cute as she was, but he did not disregard the fact that she just casually claimed herself to be the one of most powerful beings in the whole world, and the leader of the terrorist organization Chaos Brigade. You don't look like a dragon. He then stated, locking his eyes with hers as she started back at him rather inquisitively, her head tilting to the side in a curious, but incredibly cute manner. It was then that Naruto realized she was suppressing her own power, or someone else was doing it for her with Volley and his team, probably to not alert Rias and the others, especially Azazel, of their presences. Now that she was almost right next to him, he could feel a considerable amount of power radiating from her, and it was also incredibly terrifying. Is it because Office-chan is too cute, Nia? Asked the cat girl in a playful manner, but Naruto chose to ignore her and waited patiently for Office to give a response to his statement. Should he try to alert his champions so one of them could contact Azazel and the others to alert them? Yumi was with Ashia, so she was the most obvious choice, but for some reason, he had a feeling that it wouldn't work. While he knew he could still summon them because the runes were still glowing, he could not feel any of their presences in the telepathic links that he had with them. I can appear in any form that I want. It doesn't matter. So she's a shapeshifter, Naruto concluded, but he couldn't help but wonder what caused her to take on the form of a harmless-looking gothic loli, with an abnormal level of power. Maybe an old-fashioned magazine, or something similar. You are the one who summoned the vast power I had felt in the dimensional gap months ago, the power that is known as Aurelian Soul. Yeah, the Star Forger. I used him to scare the shit out of Razor Phoenix and break his will to fight. What about it? Office then nodded her head before answering, if you are able to summon such powers at your whim, then you are strong enough to help me kick Great Red out of my home. Excuse me, but who's Great Red? He couldn't help but ask. Pretty sure that he had heard or read about that name somewhere before. Great Red is the most powerful being alive, a dragon whose power even exceeds my own. He goes by many titles: Apocalypse Dragon, the True Red Dragon God Emperor, True Dragon, and the Dragon of Dragons, the Dragon of Dragons. The list go on. It is boring. Naruto's sweat dropped at that. He has been a thorn in my side for many years. He currently resides within the dimensional gap, which is originally my home for as long as I have existed, until one day Great Red barged in and kicked me out. Just like that. Just like that. Office answered simply while nodding her head in confirmation. I want you to help me kick him out. I don't care how. I have been gathering strong people from every race, humans, yokai, devils and dragons in order to accomplish my goal, but so far nothing worked but you. She pointed her hand at him. You can help me with it. Aurelian Soul's power exceeded even that of Great Red. I don't care how you deal with him, I just want him gone. I don't want him in my home anymore. So basically, you created a group of terrorists who threatened world peace just for that? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow at the dragon girl. I don't care what they do, as long as they help me achieve my goal, then yes, I will continue to support them. I want to return back to my solitude, to my silence. Office stated emotionless, and Naruto couldn't help but stare at the girl. Contrary to what he had imagined her to be, she didn't look like a bad person, or dragon, at all. She's just someone who's trying to return to her home, but as far as he could tell, the dimensional gap was an empty space of nothingness, and nothingness was far from anything that could be called a decent home. Did the dragon girl really want to be alone? Why would anyone want to be alone in such manner? So you want to be alone, is what you are saying? Naruto asked before adding, no one likes to be alone, you know. I do. You are a weird dragon. Call me however you want. Are you going to help me or not? Office pressed on, though her tone was as calm and as emotionless as ever. What make you think that I will help you? Naruto cocked an eyebrow and decided to ask. I can always force you to help me. Yup, that was as much as he had expected, but Naruto remained calm. You know that I'm stronger than you with Aurelian Soul, right? Naruto asked, once again playing the assault card. No one needed to know that he and that overgrown space dog did not get along. And he would rather summon Fiddlesticks than a dragon that could blow up his whole planet with just a single breath of it, and then reform it with his power just to blow it up again. Office, Volley and his team seemed to think that he had full control over his champions, so let's play that to his advantage. We can really fight it out here and see if you really can force me to do your bidding, but a battle of that scale will reduce everything around us to ash in a matter of seconds, my friends included. And once that happened, I promise you, Office, you wouldn't even exist to return to that home of yours. He finished, his tone deadly calm as he stared right back at Office's eyes. Around him, he could see Volley and his team becoming alerted at the amount of power he was unleashing. Even the cat girl had dropped a playful smile on her face and sat up, dangling her legs down the billboard box. That's the reason why I am here to ask you politely. Office said finally, not even looking like this. She felt threatened by his words. If you refuse to help me, then I will have to stick with the people that I have gathered. The Chaos Brigade. Naruto nodded his head in understanding before exhaling through his mouth, letting go of a breath that he didn't know he was holding. Office did not look like she was here to fight him, which was a good thing because he did not know if he could fight her and Volley at the same time, not to mention that there were also his friends and thousands of innocent people around. And that's when it hit him. A brilliant idea that popped into his mind. He didn't know if it was a stupid or a good idea, but it was an idea no less that would let him gain a huge advantage in the battle ahead for the Alliance. Plus, he also wanted to help this poor girl, who didn't seem to know what it meant to be truly alive, and to live a life of excitement and happiness around the people that cared for you. Why don't you like it here? Is it too loud? Naruto asked. Beside him, Volley and his team seemed to have realized the direction he was heading, but they did not try to stop him. Yes and no. I don't mind it here, but I was born from the void of nothingness, and so the dimension gap is the most comforting place to me. Office answered simply. Then what happens if I show you that there is more to life than simply existing in a void? He asked, smiling finally. Do you have a friend, Office? Friend? Office repeated the word and looked around. Does a talking partner like Volley count as a friend? Kuroka also talks to me a lot too. Talking partner. He looked over at the White Dragon Emperor, who gave him a simple shrug in response. I guess yes, they are friends of yours, but friends can be much more than that. Friends are people who always stay with each other and support each other in every way they can. The rest of the Chaos Brigade are not your friends, aren't they? Thinking about his words, Office then shook her head in confirmation, making the smile on his face become brighter. Great, then why don't you just ditch them and come with me? I will become your friend, Office, a friend that will show you the excitement of living in this world. Excitement? Office asked, tilting her head to the side in curiosity. She looked intrigued by the words. Yeah, excitement. Fun. Whatever you like to call it. Naruto nodded his head with a grin. Come with me, and I will show you the meaning of living in a world full of excitement, and one of nothingness is nothing but boredom. Office made a sound, as if she was really considering it. Oh no, the big bad bosses are not gonna like this, Nia. Kuroka giggled at how the situation had turned out. You do realize that if she agrees to come with you, you will have the entire organization coming after you, right, Nia? Yes, but I have a feeling that you guys really don't need this girl more than just a battery of power-ups, do you? He asked, narrowing his eyes at Kuroka as he remembered Kateria and the snake she had used to empower herself. So what do you say, Office? Will you come with me and become my friend? He asked and extended his hand forward to her, making the dragon girl widen her eyes a little. If I end up not being able to make you see this world as a place worth living, then I promise you I will help you deal with Great Red. Promise? Her head perked up at that, looking less emotionless than before with a small, but blank smile on her face. Yes, promise. Naruto smiled and slowly but surely, Office reached out and placed a hand on his, allowing Naruto to grab it gently before lowering it down, allowing the blonde to let out a long breath he did not know he was holding. He really did not expect that he would be able to convince her to come with him so easily, but it appeared that she was just that pure and innocent dragon girl. No one has ever held my hand before. Office suddenly said, as she leaned a bit toward him. Naruto couldn't help but ask as he started to get a little worried again. You don't like it? No, it's just, it feels nice. She said slowly while looking up at him. Your hand is warm. Thank you. Naruto chuckled sheepishly, while scratching the back of his head, before he looked at Volley, who looked surprisingly pleased at the development, while Arthur just looked as calm and stoic as before. What about you, Volley? Wanna come with her, and switch to her side too? I promise you that, if you join us, I will fight you at least once a week. I am in dire need of a sparring partner too, you see, the blonde offered with a small smile. You're not going to ask why we didn't try to stop her from coming with you, Naruto-san. The look on your face is more than enough of an answer to me. You might be a battle maniac, but you are not a bad person. Naruto shrugged. So about my offer. Come with me, Volley. Office suddenly spoke up, much to Naruto's surprise. If a talking partner counts as a friend, then you are my friends too, and friends must always stay with each other. She raised her other hand up, and repeated the words Naruto had told her cutely. Volley didn't look surprised by her words one bit. If anything, he looked like he was expecting it. I don't have a problem. Our alliance has always been with Lady Office to begin with. Arthur shook his head and stated calmly as Volley looked thoughtful for a second, but it appeared that he had already made up his mind. But the final decision is yours, wherever you go, Volley. My sister and I will follow. Eh, do we really have to, Nia? Kuroka whined in a playful manner, but Naruto had spent enough time with Yumi to know that the way her cat ears were twitching showed that she was quite displeased. I don't mind a reunion with my cute Shirin-chan, but I'm still an SS class criminal of the underworld, you know Nia. Those scary devils will eliminate me on sight. Do you want to come with us or not? Volley asked her, and that was also the answer that he had for Naruto. Who is Shirin? Naruto wondered out loud before he could stop himself. Ria's Gremory still couldn't quite believe the circumstance that had led her servants to this situation. When Naruto said that he needed to go to the restroom, after parting with her cousin Sarog and his queen Kusha, who had taken a taxi and left for their hotel, she had fully expected him to return in 2 minutes or so. When Kiba and Azazel returned telling her that Naruto was right behind them, she had borrowed Ashia, Zenobia and Irina's guidebook, and checked to see if there's any romantic location for a date with him, but after another 10 minutes of not hearing anything from him, she began to get worried and were about to send everyone out to go look for Naruto, only for him to show up with the people she would never think that she would see that day even in her wildest dream. Guys, this is Office. It was the simple introduction Naruto had made while gesturing his hand to the girl who had appeared with him while holding his hand, while being followed by Volley and a group of people, one of them being none other than Kuroka, Kaneko's elder sister and one of the most wanted criminals of the underworld. Azazel had choked on his own coffee and spitted it all out in a spray upon seeing Volley, and knowing the girl that was holding Naruto's hand was the Ouroboros Dragon Office. And Rias knew she would have had the same reaction if she had been drinking something like him. So there they were, sitting together in an airport's cafe. On one side of the table was herself, Akeno and Kaneko, who was trying to avoid her sister's playful gaze from the other side of the table, where she was sitting with Arthur Pendragon, Biku, the descendant of the original Sun Wukong, who had arrived just a moment ago and joined in with his group, and a young woman who had shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes, wearing a sorceress-like dress going by the name Le Fay Pendragon, the younger sister of Arthur and the descendant of legendary Morgan Le Fay and King Arthur, appearing to be the one who had stopped Naruto from contacting them and shielding their presences away from her and the others with her magic. Volley and Azazel were sitting at their own table and engaging in a friendly conversation, with the governor looking extremely excited and enthusiastic, like a man who was talking to his longtime friend, and not someone who had just betrayed him not even a month ago. Her servants were sitting at their own tables behind her, looking wary but ready to step in if something happened. And at the head of her table, acting as a mediator, were none other than her boyfriend Naruto and the Ouroboros Dragon God Office, who had not let go of his hand, even while she was studying the menu. Naruto, can I talk to you for a second? She requested, looking over at her boyfriend before adding, in private if possible. Of course. The blonde nodded his head, and then looked over at Office. Office, I need to go for a bit. Can you, let go of my hand? Sure. Office nodded her hand and did so, allowing Naruto to stand up and leave with Rias. After a moment, she then turned back to the menu on the table in front of her, but found herself looking back at the hand that had held on Naruto's for so long, feeling a strange emptiness, and she didn't like it one bit. So what's up, Rias? Naruto asked once he and Rias had gotten outside the cafe. What's up? What's up? Seriously, Naruto? She asked in disbelief, hitting him lightly on the chest with the back of her hand. I took my eyes off you for a few minutes, and you suddenly came back with a group of terrorists and their boss. Hey, they're not that bad. Naruto chuckled as he tried to explain to his girlfriend Volley, and the others are members of the Chaos Brigade, but unlike the Devil and Hero factions, their alliance are with Office, and just so you know, she's not as bad as you think she is. He then went on to explain to Rias about Office's ambition, including the fact that the terrorists of Chaos Brigade were just using her to have her in order to gain the power that they needed to fulfill their intention, meaning that having her on their sides would cut them off with an immense source of power. I see, that makes sense. Rias nodded her head in understanding. Her expression then shifted to one that was much more serious. But what about her? She asked, jerking her head at the lounging Kuroka, who were cheerfully asking Kaneko a whole lot of questions, but none were being answered. Why is she here? Because Kuroka is with Volley, I guess. You know, that's not what I meant, Naruto. Yasuo is a wanted criminal too, and he's currently in our house doing the gardening and having tea party with Dad in the weekend. Naruto shrugged as he looked at his girlfriend directly in the eyes. When I tried to ask her, she refused to tell me what truly happened between her and that high-class devil master that she killed. But I couldn't help but have a feeling there's much more than just her doing so out of cold blood and while being drunk of her own power. Even if you were right, Naruto, it doesn't change the fact that she's a stray, and the heir of the Aigers is here, in Iceland with us. Rias reasoned. It's just that she didn't trust his judgment, she just didn't want him to get hurt because of it. What do you think she will do when she finds out that the most wanted criminal of the underworld is somewhere near? I know, Sakura. We are childhood friends. If she doesn't give a hunting order, she will do so herself, you know. Naruto nodded his head in understanding. He had thought of that too. I will worry about that later, but for the time being, the benefits of having them on our side outshadow their criminal histories. Chaos Brigade is the only thing that is left in our way to world peace, and having them feeding us the information might be just what we need to defeat them in the near future. I still think it's a bad idea, but I will trust you, Naruto. Rias smiled finally. Thanks, Rias. Naruto grinned at her before he said, let's head back in before Office thinks that I abandoned her. And with that said, the two of them headed back into the cafe, where everyone had ordered their drinks and were chatting cautiously with each other. Luffy seemed to be getting along well with Akeno, the girl reminding him a little about Arena, cheerful and enthusiastic with an outgoing personality, but extremely polite tongue. So since you guys are already here, and if you don't have anywhere to go for the time being. Naruto began as he returned to his seat next to Office, who were drinking a cup of lemonade, and allowed her to immediately relink her hand with his much to Ria's displeasure. Something that was slightly shared by some other girls. Why don't you stay and watch the MSI with us? Do any of you know what it is? Deku and Arthur just looked at each other, obviously having an idea, but basically did not know what it was. Figure for the guy who can bring League of Legends characters to life to want to see its second largest international event of the year. Kuroka teased playfully as her kimono parted to reveal her insatiable bust. Yes, we do know what it is, Nia. That's right, Naruto-sama. Me and Kuroka-sama play ranked duo a lot in our free times. It's a very fun game when you can play with your friends. Luffy chirped excitedly. So is there by any chance that you two are Black Cat 1123 and Pendragon-chan? Naruto blurted out before he could stop himself. Still, a girl with the last name Pendragon playing the game with the Black Cat Nakashu who talked just like Black Cat 1123 was too much of a coincidence for Naruto to not come to the conclusion that they were the duo that he usually met in rank. Yes, how do you know that, Nia? Kuroka asked in surprise after exchanging a look with Luffy. He's 7th Shadow 9. Surprisingly, it was Kaneko who answered that question, causing Lafat to drop her cup of water and stare at him with her jaw dropping. Kuroka, who had an expression of utter shock on her face, could only turn her head between Naruto and her sister a couple of times before she broke out in laughter while holding her stomach, laughing so hard while slamming her fist on the table so violently that it's a miracle her enormous breasts did not fall out of her loose kimono. Holy fuck. Kuroka laughed, unable to control herself and actually rolling down laughing, making everyone look at her. You're that fucking shithead who entered everyone's game and was heart-stuck bronze eye for 11 fucking years. Fucking hell. And your power are league-based. How irony is that? Beside her, Luffy was also trying to control her laughter, her body shaking, while she was hiding her smile behind her hand as she looked away from him. GRHH. Naruto growled in annoyance as he crossed his arms on his chest and lowered his chin down the table. Office, who sat next to him, just placed a hand on his back as if she wanted to comfort him, but only because he looked like he needed it, as she didn't understand why Kuroka and Luffy were laughing. Maybe Rias was right. This was a bad idea. Just when he was about to ask her if she wanted to continue or call it a day and go to sleep, because they had a lot of touring plans tomorrow, Naruto heard the sound of someone knocking their hand on the door of the room, just about the same time Rias' phone went off. Talk about timing. The blonde chuckled in amusement, making Rias giggle softly before they got off, with Naruto hurriedly putting a pair of shorts and throwing a shirt on to go answer the door, while Rias went to pick her phone up and returned to the bed to answer it. I'm coming. He responded when the person knocked again in a rather impatient manner. Who could have come at this time of night? Naruto couldn't help but wonder. Good evening. At first, Naruto didn't see anyone at first as he cracked open the odor to see who it was, making him feel a little confused for a split second. However, when the blonde looked down, he saw that the person who had come knocking on his room was none other than the Ouroboros Dragon God Office, standing there with a piece of paper in her hand, wearing an insanely and adoringly cute dark purple pajama. Since she was staying in a room with Kuroka and Luffy, he had a feeling that the pajama was the playful Nakashu idea, as it was hard to think that Office would bother wearing anything other than her gothic dress. Is there a problem, Office? How can I help you? Pressure like nothing Naruto had ever felt before slammed into Naruto, pushing him down without warning, making him lose most of his strength and almost crumple to the floor, but still found himself struggling to keep himself on his feet. Then suddenly, it ended. What the? Naruto asked breathlessly, feeling his heart thundering in his chest at the possibly most scary feeling he had ever felt in his life. Since he could hear Rias talking to the person on the phone without a pause, it looked like she wasn't affected, or at least, Office had directed her power onto him only. Are you scared? Office asked in that monotone of her, and Naruto nervously nodded his head in response. She didn't look like she was angry or anything like that, but he had only known her for a day, and her face was always so blank it's impossible to know what she was thinking or feeling. Good. Then to Naruto's surprise, Office then looked at the piece of paper she was holding in her hands, raising it high enough for Naruto to see neat handwriting on it. He couldn't read much, because Office lowered it down, nodded as if she was sure of something, and then looked back up at him, but the first line that he was able to read on that note was, "First, do an impression. Scare him with your power, Office-chan, and then ask him if he is scared." Naruto Bronzy Uzumaki, I have come to tell you that you are making so much noise from your room as you have steamy hardcore sex with Ria's Gremory, that you two are disturbing my roommate's beauty sleep. The dragon god began, speaking up like she was reading something, causing Naruto to have an urge to fassip him, because she was using the nickname Kuroka had gotten for him, similar to how Kaneko always called him Seto-senpai. It wasn't that difficult for Naruto to piece things together. Office came here in the middle of the night, staying in the same room as Kuroka that he then realized was right next to his, carrying a piece of paper with something that were probably speeches and instructions the sensual Nekashu had prepared in advance for her to tell him. The walls of this hotel is not soundproofed, or even if they are, I do not think they could stop the sounds of your violent fucking. She then suddenly pointed a finger at his face, making Naruto lean his head cautiously because he knew that if she wanted to, she could just one-shot him there with a bust of her power. So if you two don't stop, or at least try to keep it to yourself, then I will bring this whole hotel down upon you. More than 18,000 earthquakes have shaken the area in just over a week, so no one will ask a question if there is one strong enough to bring the whole building down. She finished, nodding to herself, as if she was acknowledging that she had just accomplished her assigned task beautifully. Naruto then looked out of the room, and caught sight of Kuroka and Luffy peeking at him from behind the slightly open door of their room. Realizing that he was looking directly at them, the two shot back into their room and slammed the door shut. Can you please tell them that I have received their message, and that I am sorry for disturbing them? Naruto told Office as he leaned back, making the dragon god girl nod her head. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Naruto. Good night. Saying that, Office raised a hand and waved at him before she turned on her cat clippers, and then went back to her room without saying any other words. Naruto waited till the door had closed to return to his room, and despite the nervousness he had felt previously, he couldn't stop himself from smiling a little. That was very scary of Office, but really cute at the same time. Great, I will see you and everyone tomorrow then. As Naruto came back into the room, it appeared that she had also finished with her talk on the phone. Good night, Sona. Is that Sona Kaiju? Naruto asked as Rias closed her phone, lying down next to her. It is. She wants to have a group gathering with us tomorrow at a restaurant not too far from here. Rias nodded his head and answered him while putting her phone away. She also invited Sariark and Sigvera. The two of them and their servants will be there. I see. Guess we have to change our schedule for tomorrow night, huh? Naruto had no problem with that, and he knew that the others would too. However, the problem would be Vali, his team and Office. It had only been a day, and Naruto did not think it was impossible to start calling them their allies now. Sure, Office seemed trustworthy, but the rest was not. He probably should ask Azazel to stay behind and keep an eye on the tomorrow, maybe even considering aiding him with some champions just in case, as there was still the threat of Chaos Brigade. Naruto had a feeling that some of them were not going to be happy they lost Office to them. Sooner or later they would find out that their boss, Vali, and his team were no longer with them, and made their moves to take her back. Was that Office I heard at the door? Naruto confirmed with a nod of his head, and then raised his hand to tap his knuckles on the wall above his head, making Rias whiten her eyes in realization. Oh. Chuckling, he then lowered his hand down and put it on Ria's thigh, feeling how smooth and soft her skin was. So if we want to continue, I guess we will have to keep it down a little bit. Well, you know how to keep me from making a sound, don't you? Rias asked, leaning down to whisper seductively to him. The smirk on his face whitened and Naruto immediately shot up, standing in front of Rias with his hands hurriedly working to push down his shorts. Looks like someone is excited, Rias said, but then widened her eyes when Naruto grabbed his cock and forcefully shoved it in her mouth, groaning as his cock hardened at the warm and wet sensation. Job done. Naruto grinned, grabbed Ria's wrists, and pinned her arms against the walls on either side of her head, before he began to move his hips, thrusting his cock into her mouth. His girth stretched out those plump, soft lips, moaning as he pushed against inside her soft, wet cheeks, feeling tongue wiggling all over his cock, before he plowed himself as deeply into her face as he possibly could, inch after inch of lurching meat sliding down into her throat. Despite feeling surprised by his sudden roughness, Rias didn't care about it so much and began to suck, bobbing her head and leaving strands of saliva to drenching his shaft, which was coursing out her throat with obscene glurgs of pleasure. Occasionally, he pulled out and wiped and rubbed his wet cock all over her face, smearing her saliva on her cheek and his pre-cum on her lips, before thrusting back into her mouth. The next morning, after getting breakfast at the hotel's restaurant, and shaking off a very annoying Kuroka who couldn't stop teasing him for being a Bronze Eye police for 11 years straight, Naruto and the Occult Research Club, minus Azazel but plus Office, Kuroka and Luffy headed out for a sightseeing tour around Reykjavik, which was without a doubt one of the most beautiful cities in the entire world. Naruto wondered if he would have a chance to meet any Nordic deities while staying here. Asgard were allies of the devil factions, so meeting them wouldn't be a problem. Okay, who wants some ice creams? Naruto asked as he took out his wallet with the money he had exchanged at the bank earlier that morning in advance. Office, Arena, Luffy and Ashia instantly raised their hands before several others quickly followed, with the dragon god girl unsurprisingly, did not look as excited as them. Then Kuroka, who was wearing a cap to hide her identity just in case they accidentally ran into a devil or anyone who knew she was an SS-class criminal, spoke to him with a teasing smile. 2 chocolate ice creams please, Bronzy-kun Nia. How about you go buy your own ice cream? Naruto growled as the Nekishu broke out in laughter. Still, Naruto did buy 2 chocolate ice creams for her, and as he handed them to her, Kuroka immediately ran over to her sister and offered one to her. But an even colder than normal Kaneko just looked and then walked away. The smile on her face dropped a little. Despite all the teasing, Naruto couldn't help but feel bad for her. Since joining them yesterday, Kuroka had tried to bond with her sister a little. Sure, it was in her own way. Naruto had no idea if she had apologized to Kaneko for everything that had happened between them just yet, but in a way, it really showed how much Kuroka cared for her sister. Ryuza told him their story, and despite what everyone believed, Naruto couldn't help but wonder if there was something more to it. After all, not many high-class devils he had met beside his master, her close friends, family, Ravel and her parents, were nice people. If getting drunk on her own power was really not the reason she killed her master that day, then he could easily imagine Kuroka's master to be someone like Razor Phoenix, or even worse than him. Whoa, hold it you three. This is a fully functional church. Naruto stopped Arena, Zenobia and Arena when the three tried to enter Halgrimskirche Church, which was radiating an insane amount of holy ore. As much as he wanted to enter that place, since it was said to have the best view of the city, heading in was dangerous for a devil like him. We can't go in there. Yes you can, with the blessing of an angel like me. Arena winked and casted a spell on them with her arms outstretched. Just don't try anything mischief, okay? The angel girl winked, before she went back to her 2 friends. Naruto-san, can you take a picture of us in front of the church? Ashiya asked with a beautiful smile as she handed him the camera, and of course, he could never say no to something like that. Sure. The blonde smiled and took several pictures of them in many cute poses in front of the Halgrimskirche Church, before they asked Office to join them as well. The Dragon God girl clearly didn't know what she was doing, but she looked like she was having fun, copying Ashiya and Arena's poses as she stood between them. Once that they were satisfied, allowing Office to return to his side, which she seemed to have grown comfortable too with another ice cream cone. Naruto continued to take several pictures of the Halgrimskirche Church and its surroundings, to keep as souvenirs for his parents and friends back at home. He took picture of Kiba and Gasper with a group of girls who approached them and asked the two to take pictures with them, getting shocked when they were told that the damper was a boy, Kaneko and Ravel, who were bickering over something on the travel guidebook. But their rivalry had become a lot of sense to him. Kaneko was trying to avoid her sister, who jumped into the frames whenever she could with love fate to get a picture with her, much to the girl's displeasure. Hey Naruto, wanna take a picture of me? Naruto turned his head and saw Arias winking at him, looking absolutely stunning in her turtleneck shirt and warm jacket with form-fitting jeans and sporty sneakers. Not that his master girlfriend had not looked stunning before, but Naruto wasted no time to capture the moment with the sun behind her, his finger clicking the button on the camera faster than it could even registered. Naruto-kun, please take some pictures of mine too. From the side, Akeno called out to him while waving a hand before striking a sexy pose that caused many men around her to blush, and their girlfriends to stare in jealousy at her incredibly attractive body. Naruto grinned and did just that, making Rias pout a little, but it did not take it long for the two best friends to join each other in front of a flower bed. After that, the group continued to explore the city on foot, and then made their next stop at Perlin Museum of Icelandic Natural Wonders, a stunning building with state-of-the-art exhibits, focusing on the many natural wonders of the country. From the cliffs and volcanoes to the sea life around the island, with the most impressive exhibits being a replicated ice cave that they could explore. After having lunch at a local but fancy restaurant, they then moved on to visit another famous tourist attraction of Iceland, Reykjavik Maritime Museum. Learning the stories and seeing the artifacts that related to the lives of Icelandic fishermen who cultivated this important fishing industry for the country. Their last stop was Brorfus Waterfall, one of the most breathtaking waterfalls in Iceland. Standing atop the waterfall, looking at his friends who were having fun and talking to each other down below, Naruto couldn't help but wish that every day of his life would be like this. Later that night, Naruto found himself sitting with Rias and Akeno at a large round table, being accompanied by Ravel and the rest of his girlfriend's peerage, who were sitting at their tables around the room, facing the other young devils of the famous Rookie Four and their servants. They had come to Reykjavik to watch the MSI and prepare for the upcoming raiding game tournament. Beside Rias Gremory from the Gremory family, Sona Citri and her servants from the Student Council and Citri family, Sarierg and his queen, from the Bale family, there was also an incredibly beautiful and attractive young woman in her late teens, with long pale greenish blonde hair, long-slit pink eyes, and glasses. She was dressed in clothes that were very fitting for female nobles that have a flashy design to them, with accessories that had the Aegir's seal on them, which gave off a posh vibe, and a miniskirt and high boots, which were matched by her posh clothing. Standing, instead of sitting like most of them, at her side was a tall male devil who dressed formally in a butler uniform, with the crest of the Aegir's on his chest. Like Sona, Sakura Gears seemed to have a serious, no-nonsense personality. But while Sona was someone that he knew would keep her cool in most situations, Sakura gave off a sense of coldness and an even stricter aura than the Citriers. To the point that she looked elegantly and gracefully scary. Nice to meet you all. I am Rias Gremory, the next heiress of the Gremory family. Rias began the introduction that she and the other heirs had agreed on for the servants who had yet to know them. My name is Sona Citri, the next heiress of the Citri family. Sona continued the greetings, looking as cool as ever in an elegant black dress. Accompanying her was the vice president Her Queen Tsubaki Shinra, as well as Issei Hidu and Saji Genshiro. How do you do? I'm Sariarg Bale, heir of the Bale Devil household. Sariarg also introduced himself as his queen lowered her head to them. My name is Sakura Gears, the next heir of the Gears family. Sakura introduced herself after taking a sip from her drink. Her tone was as cold as her expression, but to Naruto she looked friendly enough. I see that only us four are here tonight. I am not surprised though, since I am not expecting someone like Zephyr to show up. I take that he still didn't give you the respect you deserved the last time you two met, did he? Rias asked. From the look of it, it appeared that Sakura didn't get along too well with the heir of the Glacial Abolazar. Or anyone his authority is higher than him, it seems, so even if he's here in Iceland, I don't think he will want us to know. Sona continued calmly as she tilted her glasses up. Nonetheless, I am grateful that you three are the ones who show up to this little group gathering here today. We all come here to prepare for the upcoming tournament. It really shows that our desire to win it all is just as great as our interest in the new game mode. How much do we know about this new mode of the tournament anyway? Sariarg gasped, looking very interested in the subject. I have done my research on the game League of Legends, but it's hard for me to imagine how it would be when they finish converting it to rating game. It wouldn't be a 5v5 battle, that's for sure. Sakura said, making Naruto look over to her. It appeared that every heir had looked into League. And just by looking at how Rias had improved just from playing the game casually to have fun with him, showed that they might know about the game more strategically than him, who had played it since the first season. However, we know that it will still be an objective-focused game mode, so even someone as strong as you can lose in this battle, Sariarg. That's true, but I have no intention of going down without a proper fight. Sariarg smirked, with an aura of power around him that greatly reminded Naruto of Set's overwhelming fighting spirit. Expect us to do the same, Sariarg. Rias smiled fearlessly at her cousin. It was obvious that neither of them could wait till the day of the tournament. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want a next part of this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. And also check out the other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.